Welcome to eviL Pacers Recap Live. We just watched a basketball game. The Pacers have now lost 4 straight since the All-Star break, being very cautious with their players, as they should be. Pascal Siakam missing this game with a wrist sprain. I think they said that he suffered on the charge that got called on review, I believe, in the fourth quarter of the last one. Fun kind of start, and then just kind of ugly once the second quarter started. Kyle Taylor here with me. Derek Kramer is myself. Kyle, what are you thinking after that one?
So the Pacers were like 500 in January, and then Adam Silver threw down the gauntlet. He threw it down. He looked the Pacers in the eye and said, "You can't do this. I'll stop you." Pacers said, "Bet." L. The L's keep coming. They aren't going to stop. Adam Silver's got nothing on us. He can't touch us. Oh, Memphis, you're going to have another cosmetic surgery to have some optional procedure, reversed. Like, good job, Memphis. Utah, oh, copycat. Pacers don't need to do that. We just lose. We just lose.
Just lose, baby. Yes, I mean, it's very funny. I've posted the GIF multiple times since that fine, where like the only thing it made, like, I can't imagine how frustrating like the Pacers organization has to be based on that fine. And then everything we heard about from Rick Carlisle today, which we'll talk about more in our final segment. But yeah, it's just that Michael Scott GIF where Pam's like not wanting him to date her mom, I think is the context of it. But it's like, you know what? I'm just going to start doing it even harder. And that's what the Pacers are doing. It's exactly what they should be. I mean, there's plenty of reasons beyond a draft pick that there's no reason to risk these guys' health for these games that don't matter. When the season is this long, at some point it just becomes the preseason and you're just ready for the next season to begin and to get to the offseason.
Sticking it to Adam Silver has become personal for me.
I mean, I'm kinda there too. I said
Because
as much on my recent thing for to Adam Silver, like, that's the evil background now is that I just feel evil, and it's none of the it's no ethical tanking. There we don't need any of that. Just pure, you have a problem with tanking, well, here it is, where might as well just they already got fined for it, so just do it.
and this is why I am so upset with TJ McConnell. This season is a bust. We all know it. Everybody knows it. Pascal Siakam not playing. Aaron Nesmith not playing. And TJ McConnell gets a fast break, an uncontested fast break in this game. The bench stands up. Obi Toppin is on his feet. Roll back the tape, and you will see multiple people on the bench stand up and they put their hand in the air, like, go for it, TJ. And like a coward, he lays it in.
Didn't just lay it in. He didn't even
Disgusting
get off
behavior.
the ground.
Disgusting behavior from TJ McConnell. I am appalled.
He almost missed it because he was so, like, anti, "I'm not gonna jump here," and then he jokingly, like, grabs his hamstring afterwards.
Unbelievable. The low light of the game for me by far. Now we're not. Jarris Walker's game, as far as I'm concerned, didn't happen. I didn't see any. He didn't play. Actually, I've learned that he didn't play. So the real low light of the game for me was that moment, and I blame TJ McConnell personally for my bad attitude after this game.
You know, like, I think everybody, in Indiana, the country even, would love to see TJ McConnell go for a dunk. He
How many
wants
chances is he going to get? How many more? How many
that's as
more?
good as he's gonna get. Like, Buddy Hield was, like, saying something to this nature multiple years ago in the locker room, that they caught a good video of it. I can't remember who had the video because it was so long ago, but, like, he was like, "We're all just waiting for TJ to go for the dunk," and TJ walks by in the background, and he goes, "You think I'm gonna try to get myself on Shaqtin' a Fool? Guess what, TJ? That broadcast team, like, they're barely even around anymore. Like, do they even still do Shaqtin' a Fool? I don't know, because thankfully, I don't have to see them as much."
And I mean, this right now, this moment, this is
This
Shackton of
is
TJ McConnell. In a season where the team has 15 wins, you won't go for a dunk. Ugh, it's just loser mindset, loser behavior. It's disgusting. And from him, of all people, I would never expect it. Never.
well, I think this is as harsh as we'll ever be on TJ McConnell on the show. I don't see how it gets any more. Do you got any positives that you can take away from
No,
this?
no. What are you talking about? I mean, okay, fine. Andrew Nemhard, you know what? He's gonna get shouted out when we get to the TJ Awards, I suspect. Loved his third quarter. Man continues not to be able to put up an average performance. I will wait for it in earnest. No average performance is gonna happen. And I don't know what it is with him, but he is either making everything or missing everything. Michael is on the money. On the money.
We talked
It's
about
so
goals.
embarrassing, bro. Go for it. How many chances are you going to get? Even Andrew Nemhard dunked a few, what is it, 2 nights ago? It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
You know, we talked about goals for, like, players for the end of the season. We didn't have one for TJ.
Well, we
Now
did
we have one.
preseason bets. Preseason bets. We had TJ McConnell dunks in an early conversation,
We
making
did.
us look like idiots.
You had that as a thing? Oh, we had a jokingly one where he's gonna be the one to do it to Miles. Yes, I think we said yeah, we would all die of a heart attack probably if that happened.
Ugh. If we can't have Johnny Furphy doing posters, R.I.P. Pouring one out
We
for
gotta
the memory of Johnny Furphy.
Thanks for
And for
reminding me I
your,
need to hydrate now because I don't have Johnny Furphy.
yeah, you're stuck in the desert. These are the things we need, and it's just being taken from us. Instead of losing their minds at TJ McConnell going for a dunk, Obi Toppin in the bench was relegated to taunting VJ Edgecombe's air balls, which was
That was
very
funny.
funny. And
That was
VJ, to
funny.
his credit, is I have to, as an aside, this version of the Sixers, especially the Maxi Edgecombe version of the Sixers, that is such a fun team to watch. They are just I'm not an Embiid person, but the two of Maxi and Edgecombe are just a joy. They have it like their attitude is all. Anyway, I was loving VJ Edgecombe's game and wishing that the Pacers could have a young player that exciting, which maybe they will in a few months.
I mean, it's a perfect example of they're doing exactly what they should be because the Sixers had to do the same thing last year in order to have a chance to keep their pick and to get VJ Edgecombe. Like they were not wanting to be in that situation either. Obviously, injuries were a disaster for them last year, and they ended up getting rewarded and got a great rookie at number 4 in Edgecombe. I agree; those two guys are so fun to watch. Embiid still drives me crazy with all his just foul baiting and stuff. He's incredibly skilled and incredibly good, but yeah, it'll be nice to have a guy in Zubats who just won't be completely overwhelmed by the guy. Like I don't know what their matchups have been like in the past, but at least he's not going to be immediately physically overpowered by a guy like Embiid, like we've seen with every other Pacers matchup that has ever attempted to guard him.
Probably it's going to be Zoo staying a little. I would wager he's going to be a little bit more post bound, and Embiid's going to try and punish him with the middies, and Embiid can make those, and that's life.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get to talk about the centers, but despite some scoring from Micah Potter, I am not as high on the Pacers non Zubac centers as some other people in Pacers world are. And this is my ammunition from this game. That's one of the things I left here with ammunition for my play Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker, and Johnny Furphy at the backup 5 in games that matter agenda. And that will be my agenda next year.
And maybe, maybe we get some Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson or AJ
Yeah,
Debonza
I
in
mean,
the
for now, I'm not going to
conversation.
let myself like dream to that extent.
I
Like,
shouldn't let myself dream, but it's too late. We had this multiple segments of watching these guys play. now,
they're fun to watch, and they've been playing each other too. Like all these top college teams have been playing each other, which is a lot of fun.
Yep. We'll get back to prospect talk probably maybe next episode. We took a little break from it this week.
I think both of us need to catch up on Boozer. We had like a Debonsa sort of like come to Jesus moment, and I need to have one with Cam Boozer.
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and we'll go into the awards. Yeah, and then we'll get into some of this other stuff here. All right. Not a ton of candidates for the Tyrese John Halliburton Award. I think we've mentioned a couple potential ones. You want to give you the first nominee or
why don't you? Why don't you say something positive about somebody and we can have at least one thing or two things we're leaving here with besides my anti-center agenda.
Oh, I should probably say somebody other than Nimhard to give somebody else a shout out because I don't know where you're gonna go with it.
I'm giving it to Nemhard whether you give it to him or not. I'm going to break our rule because I was so disgusted with everyone else's performances that I'm just not praising them.
It's just so funny, like you're so down on Micah Potter, and I'm not a big Micah Potter guy either. But like career high tonight, went like 9 for 11 from the floor, and Kyle's still just like, nope, not it.
Well, unfortunately, basketball is played at both ends. It's not football. You don't have like an offensive team and a defensive team. Mike Potter might be like offensive center of the game, but then the defense happened, and I did watch it. Unfortunately,
I want to be like I am not high on Micah Potter. I've seen a lot of like support for him being potentially the third center on Twitter and stuff like next year. I'm not as high on that. Like if they bring him to camp, I hope there's competition for that spot at least. I'll give him a nod here because he did have a nice game. He had some good moments, like drawing a foul on Embiid and scoring after the Jarris Walker behind the back pass, which was awesome. A little more positivity there for Jarris on a bad shooting night. Yeah, he hit a ton of shots. Yeah, I'm not super into his defense, but he did have like that block at the rim on the maxi dunk attempt. Um, but that's the kind of like he has to jump as high as he can to just barely get above the rim on those block attempts. Like the only blocks he's gonna get are like guys trying to dunk on him because that's as high as he can reach. Um, but yeah, he had a good game, so I'll give him a nod here. Career high night, 23 points. I think he ended with in like 23 minutes. So yeah, offensive center of the game is a fair statement. Not that there was much defense from Huff either. So maybe even the defensive center as well. Just not much of it from
Uh,
either guy tonight.
yeah, listen, despite my slander, Basketball Reference keeps track of this stat called game score, which is basically just like an all-in-one box score stat. It's just like, did you fill up the box score without making mistakes? And basically, it punishes you if you miss shots and turn the ball over. Um, this is and it lines up pretty well with points per game. Like a really good player might put up like 20 to 30 in a game score, and a bad night is like under 10. Micah Potter's second highest personal game score came earlier this year. He put up 13.6. Today was over 22. So in other words, he's way, way, way like you're talking about the efficiency, 9 for 11 shooting. I think one turnover maybe. Um, just like not he was putting the ball in the basket without making too many offensive mistakes. That's what the box score tracks, offense, obviously. So despite my how I felt about his defense and the fact that him being on the floor necessitated double teams, which led to easy reads and easier buckets. Listen, like given this matchup, I'm not sure what he is supposed to do with Joel Embiid. Like to
Exactly.
be completely honest, not much is the answer. Like he just can't really hang at all, and he didn't. And that's like that's what you get when you have an undersized backup center situation. So look for him in this game. Like there were plenty of times I thought he was like giving the team something on offense and immediately giving it up, going the other way. But you can't argue like career high shout out. I mean, career high is awesome. That's great for him. Obviously, given his like career trajectory, I don't know if he came into the season expecting to have a 20-point game on efficient shooting against the former MVP. So that's great. I mean, my TJ like Tyrese John Halliburton, Mr. Pacer Award will go to Nemhard, really for the third quarter.
He was excellent in the third quarter.
Excellent in the third quarter. He gets these just hot streaks going that kind of drive me crazy. He's become a little bit. Andrew Nemhard's offense is getting on my nerves this year. The degree of inconsistency kind of drives me crazy. And I feel like he invents ways to have horrible plus minuses. In this specific game, I think it's totally fake. I think he was the Pacers' best player, and I know what the plus minus says, but like, I'm going off memory here, but if I had to guess, Tyrese Maxey, when guarded by Nemhard, was probably like 1 for 4, or maybe 2 for 5 in this sort of range. And guarded by anyone else, he had like 28 points. They weren't putting Nemhard on Tyrese really at all, which I thought was interesting, especially in the first half when Drew really didn't have his offense going at all. I was just kind of like eyebrow raised, Tank Commander Rick Carlisle, I see you. Um, Also, in the second half, he sort of made it count and not having the burden on defense, he put it in the basket on offense. A couple times now, this is just me noticing, and by the way, for the record, I approve of this change from the officials. A couple times now, he's done the like the SGA, like run into you, pull back, like try to generate contact, and then like shoot the shot, and then they haven't called it. I don't think that should be a defensive foul. I'm happy that it's not being called, even though it sucks for him, and it happened again tonight. So I'm noticing this. It was around this time last year that the officials started to allow more physical play, which obviously carried over into the playoffs, as y'all remember. Um, I've wanted Drew to get to the line more, and I kind of would be okay if this one didn't really work and him getting to the line more actually required him to like get in the paint all the way into the paint and draw fouls on layups or
The only
layup.
one that I thought he got robbed from free throws, they called a foul on it, and it was
Oh
like
yeah, the
the
D cell.
D-cell play, like, he's on 1 foot when the foul happens. It's not like he dribbled, he's obviously gathered. I
Yeah, that was
don't
weird.
understand why that one wasn't a free throw, that was bizarre.
Very weird.
Yeah, I'm fine with, like, Drew does a good job of, like, taking things from other players that he's played with, like, he does the same kind of trick that SGA does where he's dribbling with his offhand, his left hand, and then he'll bring his right arm into a guy without the ball, but he'll bring
Mhm.
his shooting arm into a guy and then initiate the contact, and then he has the hand on the ball and tries to shoot through that. The refs don't always give him that free throw like they typically do for SGA. So, like, he tries to take those little tricks, from guys. I think he's learned a lot from Tyrese too, with just some of the things that he does. Um, Not free throw wise, but obviously Tyrese isn't a master grifter at free throws or anything. But um, yeah, like, I've noticed that he tries to do some of those things, but he hasn't figured out how to like consistently get rewarded in the same way as a guy like SGA. Um, yeah, I'd be perfectly fine if he didn't have those types of things in his game and like you're playing more to just play basketball instead of playing for fouls, but that's another story. Um, yeah, I really like Drew's game tonight. I'm perfectly fine with them like not overtaxing him and giving him like the Tyrese matchup tonight. Like, let's just see what Cam Jones can do. Let's see what Jarris Walker can do against a guy who's super fast and trying to put him at the point of attack. Like, perfectly fine with the Pacers experimenting with different defenders at that point and seeing who steps up, giving Shep more reps, and that in that way I think is also a great idea. Um, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with kind of there's no reason to overtax Drew and give him that extremely large load to end this season with it being what it is, and he's
No, totally.
managing
Yeah,
injuries right now. So yeah, no reason to do
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I just think it was a like when I look at that plus minus and I see minus 23, I just think
It
that
could be
it's just
better.
in this case, it's not, I don't feel that it's representative of his play because he's like not the one conceding the points on defense really in any way. He's like not even involved in any way. And then on offense, he's scoring 20 points. I'm kind of like, I don't know what you want. Like, I I wish J Huff would have made a three off any of his passes ever, but it didn't happen.
Yeah. All right, I'll give the next one. Uh,
There's only one other good nominee for any award at all.
okay, well, I'm gonna do a hype train award.
Yeah, you're stealing it. The only other good nomination.
I don't know. Well, you got a different one, maybe. I'm gonna give the nominee for
No, no, you have the first 4 minutes of Cam Jones's play tonight, and that's it. We have nothing other positive to talk
well,
about.
you go ahead and do your nominee first because I have a different one. So let's talk Cam Jones.
Oh my god, you are inventive. You're pushing the boundaries of creativity with these TJs. I'm you know what? Respect because Cam Jones had the first 8 points of the game for the Indiana Pacers. And did he score much again? No, no, he didn't. He missed almost every other shot after that, but we had those first few minutes. And then we also had to watch him play defense, which I kind of would like to forget.
Hey,
Tyrese Maxey just
the Pacers lost this game by 21, and he was plus 10.
yeah, again, I'm gonna
I
be
have no
honest. I
idea
think
what that
that's
means because
super fake, super fake, super fake
like
plus minus.
how is he plus 10 in 29 minutes? And
No clue. Pure
the
luck.
Pacers lost the rest of the minutes then by
Maybe
31
because
points.
he was playing so well at the beginning of the game when he was in and the Pacers were like up
That's
one.
yeah.
And then the rest of the game he didn't play well and so didn't play that much and therefore wasn't in when everything fell apart. It's my guess. But the
They did
beginning of the
win
game he was really good.
they won the
I
first quarter by 8 points. That's probably yeah, where all of it came from. He
yeah.
hit 3 corner threes in the first half, yeah.
Um what can I say about his I mean being able to make threes. Look, the vision for Cam Jones, I think, is kind of similar to the vision for Quentin Jackson insofar as it's like combo-ish guard who's playing with fill in the blank, McConnell, Nemhard, maybe even Tyrese in a off the bench, deep bench situation. Um, and that role, and especially because now Q is a dog and he's going to play hard no matter what. I love Quentin Jackson. Cam Jones is much more limited in what he can do defensively, especially he's just too small and not as quick as Quentin Jackson getting all the way to the rim. In other words, his ability to hit threes is a big deal for I think, for his being able to stay on the floor, especially because his driving game is so predictable. He's going to start on the right side of the floor and he's going to take it to the left side of the floor. But if he's hitting threes, which he did to start this game, totally different story. And now, if he's like, man, if he can get to the point where people are closing out on him, that would be a really big deal. 3 for 5 in this game from three. Um, that is terrific. And he started the game shooting great. He was taking threes from both sides of the floor. So shout out to Cam Jones. He should be playing. He should keep getting the reps. Um, Look, Tyrese Maxey is a really, really tough cover. He makes, not only for his speed, but he makes Cam Jones look small. And Tyrese has got big shoulders and he's very strong guy, but he really makes Cam look small.
Yeah, and overall, I've been surprised at Cam Jones' defense. Like, I've liked it more than I expected I would at the beginning of the season. Um,
Yeah,
Once he was
that's
finally
very
able to
fair.
play. So yeah, I'm not. I think like you bring up Quentin Jackson, and it's probably like he's not guaranteed. Neither of these guys are guaranteed a spot next year. Obviously, especially Quentin. Like he hasn't even been converted yet. I think we all probably expect him to be once they're able to with the luxury tax stuff. But he's probably competing with Quentin. Him and Cam Jones are probably competing for that potential, fifth guard, sixth guard on the roster next year. Like that's like an under the radar battle. So watching these guys and seeing how they perform over the end of this season and into camp, like it'll be interesting. I'm a big fan of Quentin, so yeah, we'll see how things go there. My nominee for the Jalen Joseph Peter Award is Cam Boozer.
Whoa. Whoa. Oh boy.
So he just a complete out of left field, obviously, but he had I think 24 points at halftime against Notre Dame. He almost outscored Notre Dame by himself in the first half. Like he was insane. Look forward to going back into that game. I joked with Kyle like we should have just watched Cam Boozer tonight instead of the second half because yeah, he seemed like he had it going. Um, yeah, just dreaming of the draft picks if the Pacers are able to keep it. That's the hype train I have for today.
Wow. Shout out to Cam Boozer. I'm impressed with what you managed to do there. Very impressed. I'm not sure I want to give out another award.
You
I
have
don't know.
to. That's the
I do.
rules. Figure out
It
something.
is the rule. So you know what? I'm gonna make you have to. I don't want to be so negative. Um, I'm not gonna nominate anyone for the TJ Leaf Award, despite many people deserving it. I just don't want to be that negative tonight. Jarris Walker was getting shots up though, 13 of them. So he is my nominee for the TJ Warren
He
bucket
makes
getting
shots.
bucket getter of the game. Look, he's gonna have games like this. I would prefer that he keep shooting, and also, please, I am begging him to get all the way to the rim. Begging. I am on my hands and knees. Prayers are being made for paint touches for Jarris Walker. I am gonna pull up his shot chart because I want to know if it's as bad as I thought it was. He had a couple all the way at the rim, I guess, but a couple just like spin and fadeaways that irked me, and turnovers that reminded me of things we saw earlier in the season. To me, this is natural. Like these ebbs and flows are natural. So I am like sort of laser focused next game on seeing what he does in reaction to this. Like, do we see an erosion of confidence or a restoration of it? Hopefully, the latter, and that will be sort of my marker for him. I don't want to be so negative about his game, like I said. Um, so I'm giving him the TJ Warren Award when he could have received a different one from either of us tonight.
he definitely struggled with making shots. I really liked how Jarris has played since the All-Star break. The turnovers have been ugly, but the passing flashes are back, which is great to see. He's had some like awesome passes over these last few games, multiple behind the back, just perfectly placed passes. He had the one to Potter that I brought up earlier, where Potter was able to draw an and one foul. It came after an offensive rebound that came right to Jarris. He just quickly, yeah, without hesitation, just behind the back, right to Potter. Um, yeah, I think he had, like we talked about the turnovers. Like he only had two. They were just like so ugly that they stood out like a sore thumb. Did have 6 assists with just those two turnovers. He had 10 rebounds tonight. Um, so doing a lot of things the TJ Warren was not known for with the rebounds and the assist. I think that's 3 out of 4 games where he's had 10 or more rebounds like since the All-Star break. So seeing him do that on the glass like consistently lately is encouraging. A lot of that was against the Wizards, and obviously they were missing a lot of shots. The Pacers are missing a lot of shots, lots of opportunities for rebounds, but still good to see him grab those. Um, I don't remember if he was in that range against the Mavs. I don't think he was, but this broke a really long streak for him of double-digit games. I know Kristen Airy's been bringing that up
Mhm.
pretty consistently, so he's had a good stretch. Like, you're going to go 3 for 13 sometimes. So I'm not too discouraged from this one for Jarris Walker, but yeah, I'll give this wasn't the best game for Ben Shepherd, but I'll kind of make this like an overarching thing because it's like I like feel much more confident when Shep is taking a three now. Um,
Mhm.
like the last 3 months of the season, which is only a little bit of December, um, he's shooting 45% from three. Like, so since his ugly start where he's shooting like 16% in November and then like only 28% in the next month or whatever those months were. Um, ugly start to the season. He's reached the point where he's shooting a career high from three on the season. That's only 36%, but over the last like 90 attempts, he's at 45% from three. So really good to see Shep like find some consistency from the 3 point line. Struggled from inside the arc tonight, but his like overall field goal percentage has also got to where it was last year. I think we're still seeing more improvement from him in terms of attacking off the dribble. I think he's definitely learned some new skills from those early games where he was forced to play an uncomfortable position and while playing point guard. So I'm excited to see kind of if that kind of translates to next year and like how he can use that when he's back in a more comfortable role and like being able to do just a little bit more in terms of just attacking on closeouts, stuff like that. If he can make that three a consistent thing and be the shooter that like everybody thinks he should be based on what he was like drafted to be, he can be like more of a 39% shooter instead of that 34, 35. And that's a huge thing for Ben Shepherd to potentially like stay up, but like rotation guy for a team.
Yeah, that's a great shout out. I heard Kristen Airy say that on the broadcast, and I was kind of like, wow, I didn't realize he had turned it around to that degree. I mean, 45% is really high since December 1st, which is maybe that same sort of time frame you're referencing. That's
Yep.
45%, which is obviously most of the season, and it sort of is forcing me to reconsider. I just did not in my mind. It was like he had become league average. Really, it's just like he went one for his first 20, and then has been really good since then.
Yep. Very good to see for Shep, especially after that ugly start. And same thing for the guy we just talked about with Jarris too. Like our both opinions of those guys at the beginning of the year were they were just so rough to
I
start.
mean, there
Like
was a
it's
point when they were the two worst shooters in
right.
the league,
Yeah.
literally in the whole league.
So to see them like gain their confidence and like play much better since then is very encouraging as we head towards the end of this one. Okay, we're ready to start our last section here. Okay, so I hadn't seen your lower thing here. We're gonna talk about just potential don't know how to introduce this subject. So, I want you to start with Rick Carlisle's statement today about the Pacers being fined uh, for tanking and what he thought of it. I have that up here. I'll just read it in case anybody didn't see it. But Rick Carlisle on the radio today, they asked him about the team getting fined, and he said that he disagreed with it. Um, and he said the league lawyer that was doing the interview kind of unilaterally decided Aaron Neesmith, who had been injured the night before and couldn't even hold the ball, should have played in the game, which just seems ridiculous. And during the interview process, I was not in on it, but I heard the details. This is Carlisle talking again. We asked them if they wanted to talk to the doctors, our doctors, about it because it was something documented by our doctors and trainers. They said no, they didn't need to. They talked to their doctors who did not examine Aaron Neesmith. So we asked them if they wanted to talk to the player, and they said they didn't need to, which was shocking to me. And during the interview, they also asked if we considered medicating him to play in a game when we were 30 games under 500. So I was very surprised.
I have the league's response up. I will be the voice of the league, who replies to this saying, and this is a statement shared to a number of people, all copy pasted. Coach Carlisle's description of the process that went into the decision to fine the Pacers is inaccurate. An independent physician led the medical review. In addition, the Pacers' general manager and the team's senior vice president, sports medicine and performance, were interviewed as part of the process. The Pacers confirmed that it had provided all of the information requested by the league, and the team reported that an interview with Coach Carlisle or a team physician wasn't necessary. This is the drama today. This is on the heels, of course, of the Pacers being one of two teams to be fined by the league for violating, I believe the Pacers was the player participation policy and the Jazz was more related to tanking. I want to start with this statement, though, these two statements, and drill in on a couple things. Carlisle says they didn't talk to our doctors. The league says we talked to their vice president of sports performance. These are completely congruent statements. There is nothing about one that makes the other mutually exclusive. The league says, and I'll quote it again, that an independent physician led the medical review. Rick Carlisle says their doctor made a decision without seeing the player. Again, completely congruent statements. Nothing about these two things is in tension whatsoever. There is one point, the final one. The team reported that an interview with a team physician wasn't necessary. That is the only source of disagreement between the two statements, though even then, it's not entirely clear whether those would have been the same person. Aaron Neesmith's doctor, the team physician. Unclear if those are the same people. All of which is to say, the league put out a statement calling Carlisle's comments inaccurate and proceeded to confirm them. They added some additional details, yes, but they use the word inaccurate, which is an inaccuracy itself. Perhaps, and certainly they felt it was incomplete or that it lacked sufficient detail. But at least as far as I read it, and I'm curious to hear what you thought about this, I read the league statement and I was like, oh, so everything Carlisle said was right.
Yeah, it didn't seem to like disprove anything Carlisle said at all. Yeah, they just kind of added some different things to it. It's just bizarre. And it's part of why I said earlier that like the Pacers organization just has to be incredibly frustrated by that decision to like single them out along with the Jazz for the issues that have like plagued the league for a long time. And obviously they're not the first team to be fined for the player participation policy. Like it's happened a few times over the last couple years since whenever they enacted it. But like it's also like Aaron Neesmith and Tony East has brought this up multiple times. Like he doesn't even like qualify as a player who's under this policy. It's like why are two other starters being brought up in the fine that like that shouldn't affect the Pacers in this scenario anyway? Because it's only like all-star players.
Yeah. I mean, I have felt, I'm just going to come out and say it, start to finish, from the moment the fine was announced to the present day, I feel strongly that the whole thing reeks of searching for justifications rather than searching for answers. I think the league made a decision that it wanted to make an example out of anyone, really anyone. I don't think this is my personal belief. I don't think that they singled the Pacers out and said, "You are so wrong for what you specifically are doing." I think that's ridiculous. I think that the league got an earful from pick your favorite betting company,
Yep.
FanDuel, DraftKings, or ESPN Bet, whatever. I think they got an earful from those companies about what was going on right now, and they took action because that's who the league is listening to. I don't think OKC was going behind the scenes. That was fun to think about, but no, that's not what's going on
I
here.
think they were doing that too, but I think the betting companies
I don't think that's what
were the
prompted the league to
motivation.
take
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what prompted the league to take action. I think the league was prompted to take action by betting companies losing money and being upset about it. And listen, like we all used to watch the Pacers on Fox Sports Indiana. Then we watched them on Bally Sports. And now what network do we watch them on? For the last, year and a half, we've watched them on FanDuel Sports Network.
Well,
And
Bally
I
is
don't think it's
also
a
a sports
coincidence.
book.
Hmm?
Bally is also a sports book, which I had no idea for like years because
Yeah.
I didn't know what Bally was. But
Yeah. And this shift from, like what is a regional broadcaster, this shift, which is happening across sports, basketball is not unique. This shift is part of why what's happening is happening. It's why there's more attention on this now than there was 5 or 10 years ago, because the league wasn't getting an earful from its paying partners about these issues. And if it was, it wasn't taking action. So I feel, and I think, Derek, I think we're on the same page about this more or less, but to me, I do not think that there is I don't think there's a grand conspiracy to target the Pacers. I don't think that there is sort of despite what some of the proposals were coming out of the ownership meetings, which might be targeted to Indiana. I don't think the league itself cares one way or the other about us specifically. I think they care what the betting companies think specifically. And I think they're looking for any reason they can to say the thing the betting companies want them to say. And that doesn't, and as a result, because they're just finding justifications for their actions, the things they say don't make sense. And they don't make sense on their face, and to anyone who's paying any amount of attention, which of course this doesn't. This doesn't make any sense. But that's the situation the league has put themselves in when they tied themselves to the betting companies. And by the way, so has the rest of sports media. And so here we are, right? You go on the Ringer, I listen to the Ringer after the Super Bowl, and they go through the game, and then it's just like, now let's talk about all the prop bets and what happened. I live in New York. Knicks Film School does great work. I actually think Knicks Film School is pretty good. They cover the team like from a local angle, and also they end their segments with the bets of the day. This is it to describe it as like the water we're swimming in or the air we're breathing in. I think underrates the degree of influence, the long reach of the tentacles of these betting companies into all aspects of sports is almost complete. ESPN added ESPN Bet to their offering. This is the world we
Giannis,
live in.
we have
And
players that are in the prediction markets now. That is just another name for a betting company, with Giannis being like in the Cauchy ownership or whatever the deal is with that. It's everywhere.
yeah, and listen, like people can make their own choices about how they want to spend their money. I also think that the league is slow walking into disaster situations. I mean, if like there is a like people believe all sorts of things about why Michael Jordan took 2 years aside from his career. There have been players suspended in the present day over betting issues. There was a whole FBI investigation. I'm sure we all remember earlier this season that went into both players and coaches. And the tighter this relationship gets and the more widespread sports betting becomes, the greater and greater risk there is for something to go wrong. And the problem for the league is that if something really goes wrong, like really, really goes wrong, officiating, players, and their own actions, you have this sort of risk hanging over the league that they want to believe is far out in the future, where these tight relationships they've formed and the ubiquity of this thing in the world creates a circumstance for people to make bad decisions and to get caught up in things bigger than them and for them to spiral out of control. And that would suck. And I would hate that. And that's unfortunately the story in other sports for other this like things being bigger than you and spinning out of control is how sports controversies sort of all happen. And it's what happened with baseball and PEDs. If you follow sort of like track and cycling and endurance sports, blood doping became like a cottage industry. It remains one in some parts of the world today. And there's the immense pressure that athletes face, especially when like their livelihoods are at risk, which they are for minimum. If you're on the minimum and you're like a fringe player in the league, you're not set for life. You're set for like years of your life, for like 3 to 5 years of your life, maybe, but you're not set for life. And it creates this really, it is a situation that creates the circumstances for things to go wrong. And I think we're seeing we're getting a taste of it right now in this small way. And I'm only saying it's a taste now. And I hope that it's not an appetizer to a main course. I don't want to know what's for dessert with this relationship with the sports betting companies. My appetite has been satiated. I'd like it to stop.
And I think you like bringing up the FBI investigation, that could be another um, motivation for the league to try to crack down on this. Like multiple things that were brought up in that were tanking related, like Billups telling people
Yes.
we're going to be sitting our guys tonight. We aren't looking to win this game. Those kind of things. And I think like obviously so many teams have benefited from tanking. It's just the natural right thing for a front office to want to do to build the best team they can. We just talked about like the Sixers benefited from it last year and getting Edgecombe. Obviously, the Thunder like sat SGA multiple like half seasons essentially to bolster the surrounding cast that they have now. So like it's just what teams need to do, but I think like everybody can agree like it's not the most fun thing to watch. Like
No,
when your team's in this situation, like it just feel like I'm literally rooting for the Pacers to lose games. Like it's not the most like it's awful as like a like my kid's watching the game with me today and she's like super she watched the first quarter and then she's going to bed usually after that. But like I'm just letting her enjoy it. Like she's having fun, rooting for the team. Like rooting so hard. Like she's just like living and dying by every shot. And it's just so funny. She's only 8, so like just every game's like, yeah, they got to win. Um, like I'm not gonna tell her about tanking. Like, no, we really want them to lose. um, it's just a mess. So like, I think it'd be great if they can think of something that makes sense to like fix. But yeah, as Dom Life brings up, like the Pacers should go do everything they can. Like that's my entire lifetime. The Pacers haven't picked in the top 5 besides trading for the Jonathan Bender pick in my entire life. And I almost have lived during that entire run mentioned there. So, yeah, it's just, and there's obviously even more reasons for them to do that with the protections that they added. So, one of the things we wanted to talk about is just kind of go through the different ideas that the league has thrown out there publicly, maybe talk about other ones people have brought up so far, um, and go for it. I know Kyle has opinions on like
I always
the
have
draft
opinions.
itself. I don't know. How do you want to start with this?
Um, I'm gonna say that I have sort of like this is what I want from the game. Actually, before I say this is what I want, I think we need to acknowledge, and I don't think the league knows this obviously, but basketball is a star driven sport. It is more star driven than football, more star driven than baseball. It is unique in this way. The number of people on the court or the field or whatever is just smaller, and one basketball player has way more influence over the outcome. Generally speaking, in the history of the NBA, one of the most One of the like gold star championship criteria is having the MVP. Until Giannis won the MVP was the territory of essentially top 3 picks. And that's changing, which I think would actually be great if there was sort of a little bit more randomness there, but there really hasn't been. And every so often, like 5 years or so, you get, let's say, like a no doubter. I'm not saying a generational star, but like the consensus number 1 from like Zion, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flag, Victor Wembanyama. Some of these people are going to be generationally good, some of them are just like good, but they're all consensus number 1s, and you're going to sort of get the race to the bottom because basketball is star driven. There's nothing the league can do to change that. With that in mind, I don't like taking either. And I would like people's tanking to be as short as possible. I would prefer a straight reverse order draft to what we have presently. A straight reverse order. The Kings have been miserable forever. Right now, they're the worst team in the league. And frankly, I don't think anyone's catching them. And if the Kings got the number 1 pick in this draft, that would be good for their franchise, frankly, in a way that it would not be as good for any of the other teams who are around there. Now, they might mess it up because they're the Kings, but like whatever. You get the number 1 pick and you have a chance to get it right. So I want tanking to be short. So to me, a straight reverse order would be more likely to accomplish that.
You're saying just ditch the lottery completely.
No lottery at all. 1 to 30, or I should say 30 to 1.
That I feel like that would increase tanking, at least from some teams, but I don't know. Like, I guess you would have to be.
The tanking would be
very
intense
bad
in the bottom 5 to bottom 3.
Yeah.
And there would be like, what you can't tank from like 10th to 5th. What does that even get you?
And you wouldn't have teams trying to get out of the play-in for a better chance at. No. But yeah, I think you'd have to do this in addition to the things they've thrown in, like nothing, get rid of pick protections besides top 4 or something, and all of that.
Yes, I'm generally in favor of those things. But to me, like tanking is like what we're watching. Like one season of being bad is frankly not that bad to watch. But like the Sixers had the process go on for a half decade. I mean, that sucks. It sucks for everyone. I would prefer as well a similar system where we didn't imagine that every team who didn't make the playoffs had some percent chance to win the lottery, like a normal lottery draw. Let's say everybody has 20% or 10% or something. And rather than saying there will be 4 lottery teams, each of the teams who doesn't make the playoffs gets the 1 in 10. And then whoever wins the lottery gets reverse ordered by record. So if the 3rd worst team and the 8th worst team both win the lottery, then the order would be 3, 8, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. That I would prefer as well. Again, a system that sort of maximally like tries to end the bad teams' suffering as quickly as possible. I have entertained abolishing the draft. I'm probably the only Pacers person who's going to entertain it at all. And then, Derek, I'll end my rant and you can critique my terrible ideas. Yeah, I know Pacers people don't like this at all. First of all, the draft has never really helped us, so let's not pretend like this has been our salvation. It hasn't been at all. We've done trading to be good. Ending the draft without doing other fixes would be a terrible idea. But if you abolish the draft and abolish rookie contracts and impose limitations on like teams who have spent this amount of money, cannot spend more than the some amount of money plus X to acquire a rookie, meaning like if you're above the first apron, you can't get a rookie, for example. If you're above the tax, you can't pay a rookie. And if rookies can cost you the max, then like, okay, Victor Wembanyama's a prospect and like the Knicks literally couldn't offer him anything at all. Nothing. The big market teams that you're afraid of literally they would have no space. And the teams like Brooklyn and Washington that have tons of cap space can offer him whatever he wants.
I think
you can even, if you're like still concerned that all else being, things people would take $20 million to $30 million pay cuts and would play for the minimum in LA rather than the max in Memphis. The league could still further have teams submit the bids that they put in for players to the league and then allow players to choose from the 5 best. All of this, I'm very anti rookie contracts. If it's not clear, I think rookie contracts are ridiculous. I think the owners are saving money for no good reason. I think it's dumb, and you have to spend money to be good. So sucks to suck. Rookies should get paid, and you shouldn't be able to have this like 5-year runway where they can just make nothing as a percentage of the cap. When Wembanyama comes into the league, like you should have to pay him literally a max if you want to get him. This is my abolish the draft idea. Radical, a totally radical one. My preference probably would be just a straight 30-1. I care more about competitive balance than I care about losing on purpose. And I care more within the losing on purpose. I care more that it's 1 season rather than 5 of being bad. Because in the current lottery odds, if you're the worst team in the league every year, it'll probably take you 5 years to get the number 1 pick.
And that's fair. I like your idea of just kind of tweaking the lottery and you just take 4 teams and then you reverse order those. I don't feel like I've heard that idea before, but I like it. I don't think that would help the tanking thing particularly, but I do like that idea of in terms of like limiting how long teams are bad, trying to help those teams get better faster. As far as my biggest question with like just getting rid of the draft is we'd have to wait 7 years to do it because of all the traded picks that are in the future.
Yeah. You
Then
couldn't. I mean, it would be like 2040.
and then I have all of those questions, and then I have so like obviously it's going to be a long time before they can even implement that. Like how does that change trades? Like now you can no longer include draft picks in trades. Like what happens with all that? Does like do you have a limit? Like you just said to just make it instead of having like a rookie exemption, which I think has
Nothing.
been the most common thing thrown
25%
around.
max, 30% max. If you want to hear my crazy idea, I wouldn't have you should be able to pay someone 90% of the max. 90% of the cap, rather, I should say.
It would be fast. Team building would be fascinating if that was the case. Like, I just can't see a team like being able, if you just didn't have a limit, like how much a guy would get paid. And then I just can't see that going well for a team if they really paid certain guys like what they're worth. But to continue on your like the no draft, my problem with that is just I think there's so many effects outside of the draft that it would cause a lot of issues elsewhere. I think like I said, trades would be a lot harder to come to an agreement on. Like if you do the rookie exemption thing and like if you can trade your exemption for a certain year and
This
then
is
you
the
can
Mark Cuban idea.
and then you can I don't know, and then you can combine those exemptions to make like one giant offer to a guy in a certain year would be interesting. I think the issue with guy like you brought up Wemby, like everybody knew he was going to be the thing for
Mhm.
years before that draft.
Yes.
So smart teams would all set up their contracts to line up to like have a shot at him if they wanted to
Mhm.
that year.
Yes.
So like there would be, which would add more. Then that could be a case
And
where
they would
there's
be
more
bad,
free
by the way.
agency.
They're able to do that. Like we have a bunch of teams who are everybody knows that this is what the team is doing. They're trying to trade a way to create cap space. Everybody knows this. And the only way you can trade to create significant cap space is to trade good players. And so you have some teams who decide our championship window is while everybody wants to be bad and they go for it.
Yeah. It's like and I do think like that could open up more opportunities for player movement beyond trades. I think free agency would get more interesting there because teams would allow guys to reach free agency more often
Oh, yeah.
because they would want opportunities to sign rookies.
Free
So
agency
maybe
would be
that
yeah.
lessens the issues of like trades being more impossible. I'm still like, I don't know. Well, like you said, like for them to actually implement this, it would have to be so far in the future that they
Mhm.
still need to figure out the present and how to make it a more permanent thing. Like as a Pacers fan, when they like somebody threw out the wheel idea, where it's just a randomized thing.
Zach
As a
Lowe.
Pacers fan, as a fan of a team who hasn't picked in the top 5 since 1988, like, getting 5 picks in the top 5 in 30 years, that's better than 0. Great. For
It's
the
funny.
team like the Pacers, that is, awesome.
Hmm.
Like, I like the wheel personally. I think it would be
The wheel idea, I want to make sure I understand it, is just every year a new team, like first the Atlanta Hawks, then the Boston Celtics, then the Brooklyn Nets get the
it's
first
just a
pick, then the second.
randomized, like, you're gonna have the number 1 pick once every 30 years, every team.
Okay.
It would be, like, expansion coming could cause issues, like, what do you do with the wheel once those 2 expansion teams come? Because obviously they need picks more, but then, like, you don't wanna penalize this was supposed to be our 1 year with the number 1 pick, like, why is an expansion team picking before us now? That kinda thing. Um, but I as a fan of a team that's, like, never picked in the top, like, that sounds better to me, but you're gonna have an issue where the best team in the league ends up running into a generational prospect the year that they happen to have the number 1 pick, potentially.
Yeah, hopefully that would happen only every like 100 years.
Right. Yeah. But knowing the NBA with things like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors happening because of a series of random events coming together, like, it would probably happen in the first 5 years of the wheel just because of how these things, seem to roll out. Um,
Did
I don't
any
know,
of the
are any
league's ideas intrigue you at all?
So I'll go through them here. I have them on here. So these are the ones that Shams reported on. I think it was him. So they're like basic ideas. These all feel like mostly band-aids, but first one was first round picks can only be protected for top 4 or top 14 plus, which I think is fine. It eliminates some of the stuff that like the Jazz and the Wizards are doing, although I still think they potentially could be tanking anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but helps with that potentially getting rid of those top 6, top 8 kind of protections. The lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. I don't think that helps at all. I think that's just going to make the tanking happen earlier in the season. And with the season being as long as it is, like I've
The
said this.
Pacers would still not play Pascal Siakam to
No,
the end
there's
of the
no
year.
reason to play Pascal Siakam with an injury or against the Washington Wizards. Like, what are the Pacers going to gain from
No.
playing all their stars at this point in the season? The season's just too long. Eventually, the teams that are bad, like it's just a lost year, and there's no reason to risk a guy getting hurt and affecting you in the next season, which isn't that far away
Mhm.
in terms of like a significant injury. Like Johnny Furby's not probably not going to be ready. He just had surgery today. He's not going to be ready at the start of the next season. So
Right.
like if an important rotation starter guy had a similar injury, like the Pacers are screwed and they just lost a major piece for a team trying to reach the finals. Like there's no reason to risk that. So like I just don't think that that's gonna help like they think it would. I think teams that are bad are still just gonna be bad and not care about the end of the season because there's no reason to care about the end of the season when you're just out of it, even if there's not a draft pick at stake. So like, and that's the thing about the wheel too. There's still going to be bad teams, and they're still going to be like not motivated to win every night because eventually, winning doesn't mean anything when you're 15 and 45.
Yeah, even if the Pacers had the wheel, no matter what their pick was this year, they would not, like, we would get to mid-March and every Pacers fan would be like, Pascal Siakam cannot get hurt. I don't care what. Like, that would be it.
Yeah,
We wouldn't be trying to make the play in. There's nothing to do.
and I think that's kind of nails the point. Like yeah, we wouldn't call it tanking anymore because there wouldn't be the incentive to lose, and maybe we wouldn't have. And I'll give it this: we wouldn't have situations where Jay Huff is 8 for 10 from the floor and Rick Carlisle only plays him 20 minutes. We wouldn't have Quentin
Sure.
Jackson playing the game of his life and he gets like he's gonna play the people that give them the best chance still on those nights.
Yeah.
We won't have those kind of things. It would fix that. I'll give it that. But you're still not going to see like the league's best talent on the teams that are struggling that year towards the end of it, just because there's no advantage, no reason to risk anything to those guys.
Next on the list.
All right, next one on the list we have. Da, da, da. This is the one that felt like it was
Oh, the conference
pointed towards
finals.
the Pacers. Yeah, but it's also like the Mavs the year before too. No longer allowing a team to pick in the top 4 in consecutive years or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes, and teams can't pick in the top 4 the year after making the conference finals. Those
Skip.
two are the next two.
Yeah, I have nothing. Those are terrible ideas. I have nothing good to say about them.
I'm fine with the um, not letting teams jump multiple years in a row because I hate things like we've talked about many times tonight. The Pacers haven't had a top 5 pick since 1988, but the Spurs got 3 in a row.
Yeah, again, my preference is for teams who are bad to get out of the bad as fast as possible.
Yeah,
Like
they
the
would have
Wizards,
been
for example.
you know how else they would have been out of the bad as fast as possible? They got Wemby. They would have been out of the bad as soon as he was healthy for a season.
Yes. The Wizards draft Alex Sarr, and then what if he's only a good player instead of like really, really good? I think that what you're saying is true when the player is one of those every 5 years generation, like not generational, every 5 years, like lock it in star. I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think 1 in 5 is worth the generalization though.
So what about there's a few more on the NBA list, but Zach Lowe had had the idea where it's the NBA conclave. Did you listen to this?
I don't think so.
So he said, and this is obviously it doesn't have to be exactly like this, but his idea is you get all 30 NBA general managers, front offices, whatever, and you put them in a castle or something like they're choosing the Pope, but they're deciding the NBA draft order. And all the teams have to input their list from 1 to 29 because you can't vote for yourself. Because even if you can't vote for yourself 1, you're going to vote for yourself 2, whatever. Just don't put your own team on the list. So all these
And what,
teams vote
after
for it.
rounds and rounds of
They
voting,
they do an average, and then they have to agree to the average. And once it's agreed upon, he was joking like you do the white smoke or whatever. If it's a certain whatever color smoke, then you go back and they have to vote again. And yeah, the teams have to agree this team is going to get the number 1 pick this year.
I think that sounds ridiculous. I mean, that would be great for drama, and like the Ringer would have a great. They would have like a field week or a field
Oh my
month
gosh.
as like
It'd be
no white
amazing.
smoke emerged from. Where would they
All
go
the
meet?
I
Interesting
think
question.
that would
The
be
venue.
fascinating. Like I think they suggested like doing it at like a college arena, like they have to do it at like
It's
the
funny. That is the first thing I thought of. I was like, oh, what if they went to like Hinkle? That'd be kind of funny. Yeah, I don't trust that at all, to be honest. And I think it's a ridiculous thing to add on top of everyone else's like what the GMs in that job is supposed to be. I think it's funny, and I think it would be entertaining, and I think it's a terrible idea.
Okay.
Again, 30 to 1. I need someone to explain why that is. Why
Just
why
go
should
to
we
the
flatten
NFL,
the odds to incentivize more teams to tank? Why would we do that when we have this
just
other
get
thing we
rid
can
of the
do
odds completely.
where we just go 30 to 1? Why not?
Nobody's catching the Kings. They're legitimately the worst team.
Yeah.
So they can just have it. Yeah. I just think that tanking would get real intense. And that would and teams and we would be rooting for the Pacers to lose actively. And like that in the end would be nice. And I agree with Mike here that like just not actively cheering for the team to lose would be wonderful. Like not being bummed out that Cam Jones hit a game winner in his rookie season with 15 seconds left
If we
would
had
be
the
great
wheel,
if I didn't have to be bummed that he hit that shot.
if we had the wheel and the 17th pick in this year's draft, We just simply wouldn't care at all. We would neither want them to win nor want them to lose.
You just would, yeah. We just wouldn't want them to get hurt.
Get hurt. That's right. We wouldn't care about anything else.
Yeah, trades would be interesting with that too, because you'd have to be like, what level of pick are we willing to give up for Zubats? Like, they're gonna want like a 7 and a 10 or something. Like, what years am I giving up? Am I giving up 20, 38 when they have the number 10 pick?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, Dom Life, the Zach Lowe's idea. I'm sure it was mostly tongue in cheek and stuff, but yeah, you're gonna have like backdoor deals. But like the thing where people have to agree on it at the end would be interesting. But like you're gonna have teams are gonna have motivations. Like I'm never gonna like I don't know. Like you're gonna just vote for all of the opposite conference first. Like I don't want
Yep.
any of the teams in my conference, which I feel like you'd also just get rid of conferences um, anyway, is another take that I have. Um, but that's another story. I don't know what else. There was one where Bill Simmons, I'll give his idea, and I'm sure I'm like I don't know how well this would work either, but it was like the top 5 teams in the draft all get to submit. I don't even think this would help tanking and stuff because you'd still just want to make it to the top 5 or the bottom 5. But the bottom 5 all submit who they would select first in the draft. And then the player gets to choose which of those teams he wants to go to. And
Hmm.
then, like, whoever, and if there was nobody else that took, like, if 4 guys took the first guy and only one
Mhm.
other team took another guy, that team would just get that guy.
So, like, if the Pacers in this scenario,
Yes.
the Pacers put in a bid for DeBonsa,
Yeah.
let's
Like,
say,
we
and
would draft
everybody else bids for
Devonta.
Boozer and Peterson,
The Pacers would just get him.
then the Pacers just get him. Interesting.
And the other 2 teams would have to wait till that player decided, but then, they would have the next like, you'd only do this for the first 5 picks. So, like, if none of the players wanted to go to the Pacers or to wherever, then, like, the Pacers would eventually have or whatever team would eventually have their choice of whoever the 5th pick was. I was thinking about this idea when he threw it out, and I think it would end up just being, like, a whole bunch of negotiations before. Like, everybody would figure out, "This guy wants to come here, this guy wants to come there," and
Mhm.
everybody would pick the guy they wanted, and they knew agreed, like, this is where it's gonna go. You might occasionally have a situation where a guy's in between 2 places, you might have 2 guys pick, because then you know you're getting the guy that's left at 5.
Hmm.
But that could be interesting, but I don't know if it helps the tanking situation at all, is the only thing.
Yeah, I am just like not I am not convinced that the problem is tanking.
I think the
Like that's
season
just
is too long, I think, is the biggest thing.
the season is too long, but also like I people have made this point. I'm not making a unique point here at all. Pistons, Spurs, Thunder, like these all are teams that rebuilt that now the Thunder to their credit, SGA was a trade. Chet, J-Dub are draft picks.
But
Caruso is a trade.
they
So
purposely
combo.
sat SGA a lot of
But
games
but the
to
point is that
to
these
get somebody
teams
else too.
like I mean Detroit in particular was terrible for years.
Mhm.
Um longest losing streak in NBA history and they got better through the draft. And to me like that is what I feel like that's what we should want. I feel like the real bad thing is for the NBA or any professional league to turn into like the Premier League in soccer where you literally there are like 4 teams that win. And it's the biggest upset in sports history when a team outside the top 6 wins. That's like the biggest upset in sports history because it's so set in stone. It's not even stone, it's like set in cement that you just can't. There's nothing anyone can do to get out of it. And when a team finally gets good, they sell all their players so that the owners make a lot of money. I mean, that is a disaster scenario. And I never want American sports to turn into that. It's like part of the reason I stopped watching soccer because there's nothing to root for over there. Well, there's something to root for if you're a fan of like the 8 teams you've heard of. There's nothing to root for if you're like, you happen to be unlucky, and we're born in the wrong town. It's like, whoops, you have no chance ever, no matter what. Nothing you can do. See ya.
TJ
And I never want
McConnell's.
American sports to turn into that. And like the NBA has just had whatever 7 champions in 7 years, which is great. And if like the Spurs or the Pistons win this year, it would be 8 in 8 years. We're talking about the longest streak of unique champions in NBA history. I think it's great. If I thought it was really bad when it was LeBron versus Steph every year, and then we just ran off 7 straight unique champions. I don't know. I feel like that is what the NBA should want, and we're just like focusing on totally the wrong thing.
And I think that's fair. Like a lot of the talk about it and everything, like it just feels like the league is so reactionary to everything right now. Where just honestly, if you think these lottery odds were going to fix things, just let the odds do their thing. Like if you really think that was the solution when you made it, we'll let these teams get punished for continually going into it and make them keep picking fifth until they realize this isn't working and they got to figure out something else. If that's what you think's going to do it, but like it feels like they're just so reactionary. Like it's the same thing with the All-Star game. Like every year they're trying something new, something different, and just never letting something work. Like the first Elam ending game was awesome.
Never went back to it.
And then they tried it, like then it didn't work as well for a couple years, and then they freaked out and we're like, oh, we gotta try something else. Oh, this was awful. Because the broadcast form of it was terrible. They kept interrupting the actual basketball with all these different things. And this year it was great until the last one. Also, the All-Star game has never been that great. I've never really cared about it. Why are we
Neither.
freaking out about this all the time? So, like, maybe it's the same thing with the tanking stuff. Like, this draft is supposed to be really good. There's going to be a lot of teams that see that as an opportunity to get better in the future. And maybe that's not the worst thing in the world. It would be nice to not need to cheer for a loss. But, like you said, what's the alternative if, like, you're in a lost season? What are you
I
rooting
mean,
for
the other
anyway?
bad place to be is like baseball has owners, multiple owners who literally don't spend anything. And
Yeah.
thankfully, we like the NBA has a floor, and so
I
owners have to
feel
spend money.
bad for my Reds fans friends out there. I know that's a
Well,
I
I
guess
mean,
about
this
them.
is like that's the other bad place you can be. You get, you're born in Pittsburgh, and it's like,
You're just
you know,
really killing TJ McConnell today, man. You're like killing him with the Pirates. He owns the Leeds United, which I know is a soccer team that I don't know what division they're in or league they're in, but just everything. TJ, you're pounding him for not dunking the ball. You're getting on him for his his soccer fandom, and I'm sure his baseball fandom. It's not TJ McConnell's night for,
it's
for
not the Pittsburgh thing is not his fault. The dunking thing is completely his fault. Yeah, that's entirely on him. No doubt about that. I Yeah. Again, I just cannot agree more with your point about being reactionary. I don't I don't really have anything else to add beyond that. I think we're living in a period where the NBA, like where people's attention spans flit from thing to thing to thing very quickly, and the league is trying to keep eyeballs, and they don't know what to do other than change things up because it'll like get people talking, it'll get the podcast going, and whatever. And
We
when
just
they
talked
don't,
about it for 40 minutes on a
yeah,
day
and
that
then they
we
don't
were
know what
like,
to do
this is
about that,
going to be a
then
short episode. And I think it's our
and they
longest.
and they invent other problems like tanking out of nowhere because their partners are mad and they need something to keep enthusiasm in the middle of winter, and whatever. 30 to 1, that's my opinion, and
Make the
hopefully
season
no,
shorter. You'll have
yeah,
less tanking to worry about.
yes. I mean, tanking isn't as bad in the WNBA for fans of both leagues out there. Tanking is based on 2-year record, not one.
That was one of
And
the things that they suggested that I didn't get to. I don't know
yeah,
how I feel about that one, but
I mean,
this year would really suck for the Pacers.
it benefited the Fever a lot.
Yeah, and they definitely did tank to get Caitlin for sure, and Aaliyah.
Yeah. But to get Caitlin and Aaliyah back to back, that's the kind of thing you get with like the 2-year rules, because it sort of sets up this situation where you can try and like dip down for 2 years and then come back. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I've talked enough.
All right, I think we could probably wrap it up. I don't know if we came to any conclusions at all, other than maybe things are just fine, and we should just let it be.
Deeper odds. The truth is, if the league gave me like an unlimited power, I would steepen the odds pretty significantly for the lottery. I would
You
want the
just
worst team in
mean
the
so just go back to when it's like way higher if you're the worst team in the league to get the
Oh,
number
I
one
mean, I
pick.
would go. I think what did the odds used to be like 25%? I don't.
45
That's
is what it
nowhere
used to be.
near high enough for me. I like 40 is the number, maybe even 50 is the number in my mind.
Man, I just think you'd see teams do what the Sixers did with the process and just intentionally have their rosters be so bad for multiple years and just get first and second pick for 4 years in a row,
As
if that's
opposed
what
to
you had.
being intentionally bad for multiple years and then never getting good players.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's why they did
Like
it to like stop teams from intentionally putting together terrible rosters for multiple years.
it
So
just
I
like
don't know.
the again my the what I think is the worst outcome is where the good teams are always the same and the bad teams are always the same and there's no way to improve.
But obviously, the draft isn't the only way because the Pacers have done it without the draft. Multiple teams have done it without the draft.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, all right, we'll end it there. We've we've gone on long enough. Kyle was like, "I think we can be under an hour tonight." I was like, "Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
gonna like. What is there
Yeah.
to say about
Talk
this
about
game?"
this one.
And then, yeah, we just talked about these things that have no great solutions. Dom Life, great call out. TJ's if his first dunk was in an important playoff game where they needed a miracle to get back into it, like they would be unstoppable if they saw TJ
The crowd
finally.
would lose its mind.
The field house might just collapse on itself if it was a home game. Yeah, would be incredible. I think we're running out of time to see a TJ dunk though. Like eventually I don't think he's gonna be able to do it anymore. Um, so hopefully we see it soon next year, I guess, if it's going to be in the playoffs, obviously. All right. We'll log off from there. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate everybody who stayed and watched us talk for 80 minutes about honestly a terrible game of basketball, and then us discuss these various things with the NBA and these ideas that people have. Yeah. I don't have anything else. You got anything else before we say log off?
I do not.
All right. Adios. We'll see you sometime next week.